Am I the asshole for telling my son his house was dirty and his wife needed a shower? I've been up all night thinking about this, so I hope it makes sense. My son and his wife welcomed a baby boy 2 weeks ago. Both are 23. My son called me and said would I like to spend a week with them. I said as long as it was okay with his wife I'd love to. Well, I got there, he collected me from the airport, we talked, had lunch, then went to his place. When I got there my daughter-in-law Megan was hurrying around trying to tidy up. She told me she only found out that morning I was coming. I looked at my son and he went red, then said it was time to meet my lasted grandchild. As I was walking in I noticed the house was not clean and that Megan hadn't looked like she showered in days. It didn't sit right with me, but I've had 12 children so I know things get messy fast, especially when you're tired. After meeting the baby my son said, "I'll leave you girls to talk, I'm just going to pop out for an hour to the gym." So I asked Megan how she was getting on with motherhood. She told me that it was beautiful but she was exhausted with feeds every 2 hours. It didn't sit right with me the way she said every 2 hours, so I asked her would she like to nap or do whatever while I look after the baby. In my 61 years of living on this earth I've never seen an adult fall asleep faster. I looked after the baby for 4 hours and made lunch till Megan woke up and took a shower. After a day of watching my son who's on paternity do nothing but look at me and Megan when the baby cried. No help with the household work nor cooking, which he should be doing all himself because she just had a C-section. I usually don't involve myself in my kids' relationships, but he got on my fucking nerves, and no, he wasn't raised like that. So I told Megan she was being a doormat and that she smelled like she had an infection, that she needed to be on bed rest, and that my son should do 100% of the cooking and cleaning rather than act like a single teenager. They had a fight and my son told me I was a Karen and a bitch for calling his home dirty and his wife smelling. Me and Megan didn't fall out. She's asked me to watch the baby for me day, which my daughters and I have paid for, but my son who isn't here said I ruined his marriage and that it's all my fault his wife isn't talking to him. Not the asshole. Your son should be helping out. You called him out on his bullshit and he didn't like it. That's his issue. Support his wife as much as you can, and enjoy the time with the new grandbaby. Not the asshole. You're exactly the person who needed to put him in his place. He sound extremely immature and needs to step up and be a father. We need more Mill like you, that actually call out their son's bullshit instead of praising them. I would be so embarrassed and ashamed if he was my son. NGL. Not the asshole. Thank you for helping Megan, it seems she needs you. Now get his ass. Not the asshole. Where to even start? Your son didn't tell her you were flying in until the day of. As soon as you get there, he's off to the gym. It sounds like your daughter-in-law has been having a miserable time with recovering from surgery, breastfeeding, and not getting any sleep, while your son has just been letting the house get messy. It doesn't sound like your daughter-in-law was upset by you. In fact, it sounds like you were exactly what she, and this relationship, needed. Well, this took a turn I wasn't expecting. Not the asshole, and I'm sure Megan so appreciates you speaking up for her. In all likelihood, especially because she's not mad at you, you opened her eyes. Not the asshole. Please take your daughter-in-law and baby with you. Your son is inconsiderate and abusive. If he has no problem cursing out his own mother and treating his wife this poorly in front of you, to the point where her C-section is infected, imagine how he talks to his wife when you're not around. Do not leave her alone with him. Am I the asshole for not saying anything when someone called me spoiled and privileged? My husband's best friend, Nate, got a new girlfriend, Camilla, about half a year ago. She moved to our city recently, so she doesn't really have any friends here, but she and I hanged out a couple of times and started to get friendly. For context, we are all in our 20s, my husband and I both have nice jobs, we own a small flat, play tennis as a hobby, Camilla thinks it a rich people sport, and we regularly travel by finding €10 plane tickets and staying at cheap hostels for 3 nights at a time. Now to the point. My husband and I were hosting a little get-together. Nate, Camilla and a few of our other friends were invited. At one point, the conversation went to topics like the current level of inflation, how the lockdown affected people and jobs, the housing market, etc., and I had something to say too, agreeing with Camilla. Camilla cut me off and said something like, "Haha, no offense, but you are way too much of a spoiled privileged girl to understand things like this. You would need a tragedy or two in your life to understand struggle. I love you, but you never experienced any hardship in your life, haha." The room went dead silent and nobody said anything. After some awkward silence, I stood up and said, "Well, is anybody hungry? Shall we eat?" And we never went back to that topic. Camilla messaged me the next day asking me how could I do this to her. Nate told her afterwards that I had an abusive father and I fell ill as a teenager, spent months in the hospital, had to have multiple life-saving surgeries and it took me a month to learn to walk again. Camilla is mad at me for not telling these very personal things to her before and making her look terrible to Nate's friends. She said that even correcting her at the party would have been better, because then she could have apologized to me in front of everyone. But I took that chance away from her and now she will never make friends here. Honestly, this whole thing is ridiculous and I don't really think I'm an asshole, but it never hurts to ask. Maybe I should have gently corrected her after she said that. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Camilla wants a performative friendship. She was trying to meet new people and committed a major faux pas by trying to make herself seem worldly by calling you out in your own home and it backfired on her spectacularly. Be cordial, be polite, but move on. Not the asshole. Camilla could have avoided all of that by just keeping quiet. She didn't need to weigh in an ignorant opinion like that, and it certainly wasn't going to help her make friends, even if it was true. What she said was rude and uncalled for. This is on her. Not the asshole. Oh my. Poor Camilla. Well, not that I have sympathy, but she started to cuss you out because she had assumptions and it backfired right into her face. You correcting her on the spot would be fruitless. From her attitude she would have just demanded that such information should have been given her much earlier. Not the asshole, she's fucking rude. I loathe, no offense but, people. It means, I'm going to insult you to your face but you are pre-warned so you are not allowed to complain about it. As it is, you were the perfect hostess and diffuse a situation she created. She then had the nerve to tell you off about it the next day? Tell her to fuck off and find her own friends. Not the asshole. She probably would have been embarrassed had you corrected her in front of everyone and she would have been mad and called you an aw. It's a no-win situation. That comment makes her the asshole emo. Not the asshole, she decided to be horrible to you in front of everyone because she's clearly jealous of you. You did exactly the right thing in response. I would keep my distance from this woman from now on. Am I the asshole leaving my 21M friends, 21F, 20F, at the bar when they pretended not to know me? 2 days ago I went to the bar with my friends. I'm about to go back home for the summer and I really wanted to hang out one last time. So I had planned not to drink that night so I drove. So we're hanging out and talking and I need to go take a leak. I go wait in line to piss and when I get back there with 3 guys. So I make way back to the table. Abs of off the guys asks if he can help me. I tell him the girls they're talking to are my friends. They look at my friends and they say they don't know me. It just becomes awkward as I don't know what to do and one of the guys says I should leave. I figured the best thing to do was just walk away. I go sit at the bar, and I decided that I'm drinking since I have nothing better to do with myself. I get an apology text saying that one of my friends really likes a guy and if I came back to them the guys would probably leave. Eventually after I'm a little messed up I decided I'm going home. I get myself an Uber and go home and go to sleep. I wake up in the morning to a bunch of texts from them. They asked where I went, if I'm left, wanted me to come back, saying that they couldn't get the guys to leave, and then that they couldn't get home right a ride from me. Eventually, they said they ordered an Uber but were pissed at me. I called them and they said that it was an asshole move of me to leave like that. They said that you don't just leave your girlfriends with a bunch of random guys. I said that they left me for said random guys first. We got into an argument and now they're not talking to me. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole, WTF. They said they don't know you? Oh heck no. What they should have done was say, sorry, our friend's back, we'll chat more later, another time. If it were me, the I don't know you would become very true. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Drop them. They have the audacity to pretend you're a creep in a bar and then text you later mad that you bailed? Wow. Not the asshole, they ditched you first, so you left, and then they had the audacity to be like, why didn't you stay all by yourself until we were done talking to these guys after we were so rude to you? You should tell them, what do you mean? I don't know you guys, and I don't let strangers into my car. Not the asshole. These aren't friends, they're users. Not the asshole. They were using you for a ride. NTA, seriously, get new friends. If the guys would have left because their friend showed up then they were shitty guys anyway, obviously, and it's pretty clear they were using you. I couldn't imagine doing this to anyone I am friends with when it's easy to explain that you're just a friend. That's just cruel and they don't deserve you. Don't let them guilt or manipulate this situation. You did nothing wrong, you have nothing to apologize for, and they are terrible friends, using that term loosely, and I'd cut my losses here, which isn't a loss honestly. Am I the asshole for telling my husband that I no longer want my son around the team? First of all, and to get out the way, my husband and I got married 2 years ago. I have a 7-year-old from a previous marriage. We moved to his hometown some months ago and started spending more time with his family. Now to give some context about the team. So the team consists of male family members, Phil, his brother and male cousin-in-law, Cil. What they do is hang out together constantly and makes jokes and play board games. That's it. Whenever we visit and I bring my son, they'd have go sit with them to teach him stuff. At first I was like whatever, even though they'd cling to him and not let him play with the other kids. They said they were teaching him so he could become a member of the team, but what they do irritates me. First they cuss around him, causing him to pick words up. Then have him take home weird-looking shirts they said they dyed for him specifically. Then they tried to get him a tattoo behind MG back, but I shut it down immediately and had a fight with them about it. Phil apologized and promised not to do anything like that again, but begged me to not rob him of seeing my son again. So we kept visiting, but last week I got told by Phil to to the store to get something for him, and while I was gone they shaved my son's head completely. I found out and went off on them, including my husband, who watched and did nothing. My son didn't even want to GJ to school out of embarrassment and shame, and I had TK deal with his constant meltdowns. I had an argument with my husband telling him I no longer want my son around the team, and his male family members who are part of it. He said I overreacted and that hair grow back and it's not a reason to alienate my son from his loving family. I said no more discussion, but he and Phil and his brother and Mill said what I was doing isn't fair, and even as far as say I'm making my son learn to become soft instead of encouraging him to discover and try new things. I refuse to respond to them now. They're shaming me in social media, saying I'm being unfair to divide the family the way I'm doing. Am I being unfair by standing my ground on this? Not the asshole. Your son is 7 years old, they wanted a 7-year-old to get a tattoo? WHO does that. And them forcing him to do things he clearly doesn't to do, and it's uncomfortable with his borderline child abuse. Do stand your ground and look out for that kid's well-being. And if that family keeps throwing toxic shit around such as that you're making your son become soft, because he is going to an adult to get help when other adults are hurting him, I think that should finish raising all the red flags in the world. I know Reddit likes to break up marriages all the time, but if I were you I'd take a serious look at this marriage. This is not okay. Info. Why have you married a man who is bullying your son? You're OBV, not the asshole, but this is so toxic. Not the asshole they wanted to tattoo a 7-year-old? Who are these people and why do you want to be anywhere near any of them? You are the asshole for staying with a man whose family abuses children. Info. Are they all white, perchance? Not the asshole. This is toxic and disrespectful, and honestly abusive, behavior from the supposed adults here. I'd leave this entire situation for the sake of your son's mental health.